Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soda here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world, talking about the team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, we already discussed the fast risers after the Senior Bowl. Right now, we're going to discuss where everyone lands after the dust settled after the Senior Bowl in rankings. Take a look at it. Bleacher Report and their guys did an excellent job of breaking down how they grade these players and also ranking them in order. I agree with a lot. I disagree with some, and we're going to talk about it. Okay. First things first, let's first take a look at these grades. Now, if you look at the screen here, the grading scale that they use, if someone's a 10, they're a generational talent, number one overall pick, like hands down, okay? A 9.5 to a 9.9, like top 5 prospect, hands down. 9.0 to a 9.4, top 10 prospect. Then 8.5 to 8.9, intermediate impact prospect. They're still a first rounder. 8.0 to 8.4, starter year one. Late first round, early second round. 7.5 to 7.9, potential impact player, definitely a starter, round two. 7.0 to 7.4, high level backup / potential starter with a little seasoning, right? Third rounder. 6.5 to 6.9, potential role player, like a fourth rounder. 6.0 to 6.4, developmental prospect, fifth round. 5.5 to 5.9, that's a backup, someone who's draftable, but it's going to be a backup, sixth to seventh rounder. Then you have the 5.0 to 5.4, all the way down to the very bottom. You get backups, undrafted free agents, developmental guys, and just training camp bodies. Okay, that's how they give the scale. So if you want to like write that down and keep it in your mind, fine. We're going to go through all this, and we're going to go through the grades that they gave the top players in each position. We're going to start where everyone always wants to start, at quarterback, okay? And this is their rankings that they gave. All right, they gave us a top 10. Now, they also gave us a couple of different little tidbits, right? So this is like 4 different scouts that they kind of gave a consensus on, all right? You see here on the graphic, most accurate, they gave it Shedeur Sanders. Best arm strength, Cam Ward. Best mobility, Jalen Milroe. Most pro-ready, Shedeur Sanders. I don't think anyone can really argue with these. You might argue who's going to be better in the long term, but as of right this second, yeah, this is pretty spot on. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these where they rank. They got Cam Ward 1 at an 8.3, Shedeur Sanders at 2, 8.0, Will Howard at 3 at 7.5. We heard about Jackson Dart, darting up the draft board, right? Well, he's at number 4 at 7.3, tied with Jalen Milroe also at 7.3, who's number 5. Kyle McCord out of Syracuse is 7.2. Quinn Ewers is 7.0. Then you got Riley Leonard, Dylan Gabriel, and Curtis Rourke at 6'5", 6'5", and 6'1", respectively. A lot of you guys might be thinking, like, we just heard all the stuff about Jackson Dart. Soto made a video about Jackson Dart, about he's, zooming up draft boards and he's going to be a first rounder. And Mel Kiper said he was a baller, and Todd McShay said he's going to be a first rounder. But what's going on? Why is he ranked the way he is? Jackson Dart has like plus level physical tools. Like, he's really good at everything. He's not elite at anything. When you're a prospect, a quarterback of this kind of physical tools, physical traits, your elite trait has to be between your ears. You have to be an elite processor of information, because you're as fast as you're going to be. Your arm's as strong as it's going to be, right? Like, you're as quick as you got. Like, once you're getting into the NFL, you're not going to see leaps and bounds in your speed, your arm strength, stuff like that. You can improve a little, but physically, you're in your prime. You're entering your prime in your early 20s, right? Mentally, that's where he has to make this up. Unfortunately. Now, fortunately for his stats, unfortunately for his NFL prospects, Jackson Dart was in a really, really, really quarterback-friendly offense with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. It's good because he's baked in easy throws and stuff like that. As far as the offense goes, he's given a lot of freedom with his run concepts and his quarterback design runs, and that's all great and well and good, but that's not going to work in the NFL. You have to be able to process information. I talked about this before. You got to be able to take a pre-snap read and a quick snapshot post-snap, and to see if all that stuff matches up. If the defense is doing the same thing they told you they were going to do in the pre-snap read, you got to be quick with that. And if you are, you're not going to get fooled very often. You can still get fooled because these defenses are really good, but how quick are you with that snapshot post-snap, matching it up to what you saw pre-snap? Because if it doesn't match up, your first read could be completely different. You can just skip to your dump off right away. Oh, they have all this covered. I need to just go ahead and dump this off real. Now, Jackson Dart needs to improve mightily in this. And although I think that he can, there's a saying out there in the scouting world: absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just because he hasn't shown you that he can do it doesn't mean he can't do it. It's just he wasn't asked to do it very often at Ole Miss. He was given one read, two reads. That's probably it. I mean, the offense was like, it's a beautiful offense, right? It's a high-powered offense. It doesn't translate very well to the NFL, where you have to go through your reads and progressions. Now, whoever gets Jackson Dart can maybe, put a lot of those concepts in and help him out a little bit, but you can't be that vanilla in the NFL with these defenses because, look, the players are just so much better and the coaching is a whole lot better too. So he needs to adjust, Jackson Dart, needs to adjust to the pro game by being a little bit quicker in processing the information. That's the only thing holding him back. If he was a processor of info like a Shedeur Sanders was, he would be like one of the top prospects out there. I'm like one or two, okay? But unfortunately, he really wasn't asked to do all that stuff. He really wasn't asked to check out of plays and stuff like that. That kind of came from the sidelines. So him being able to do more and him being able to kind of help along the offense more and do his own checks and his own protections and process information a little bit quicker, that'll really help his draft stock. All righty, we're going to go to running backs now, and let's take a look. All righty, they have the best speed, Travion Henderson, Ohio State. Best power, Omarion Hampton, North Carolina. You have best vision, Ashton Jeanty, Boise State. Best hands, you got Cam Skattebo, Arizona State. And then best third down back, they have Brashard Smith out of SMU. Kind of a weird name, you don't really hear that name a lot, but he's a big reason why SMU won all those games this year. Let's take a look at some of the notable names here. The one thing you can look at here is Ashton Jeanty and Omarion Hampton. They have the same score at 8.3. I tend to agree with this just because I think Omarion Hampton is like chronically undervalued in the draft right now. Now, I understand that it's a running back position, and dude, this running back class is legit. Like, there's a ton of running back. You can wait till like the fourth round, and you can get a Jordan James, like Monahai, or even like a Devin Neal. You can wait to the fifth round and get like a Woody Marks, even, or an Ollie Gordon. Like, you're gonna get some good running backs going like day 3, middle into day 3. Is it right? Who's to say? But I'll tell you something right now. If you're a running back needy team, and there's not a lot of them out there, there's a few like the Raiders, right? But if you're a running back needy team, you could pick up a really nice back in end of day 2, beginning middle of day 3, even. Some of the guys that we're looking at here, like Cam Skattebo, they have a 7.2. Yeah, man, 7.2 is a guy that's going to go in there and compete for snaps right away. Does his style really work? I mean, yeah, he's a baller, dude. He goes in there and he may not be laterally as quick as you would want a running back to be, but if you already have kind of a little quicker scat back and you need a power back, a guy that can catch the ball. I mean, he has the best hands. They're saying the best hands in the running back class. Yeah, man, he's definitely going to be a guy that you want to take a look at. Now, let's take a look at a guy that I really like. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. He's rated by the guys at Bleacher Report at 7.6. Dude is a big back. Like, he plays bigger than this. He's 6 foot 225, but he plays like way bigger than this. If you've ever seen him play, he's quicker than he is fast. He doesn't have that elite top end speed, and that's really the thing that's kind of pulling him back from being a higher rated player. I think with maybe a little bit more of a breakaway speed, he'd be right up there with Jeanty and right up there with Hampton. That's the only thing that he's missing. Now, he's not slow by any means. You've seen clips that I've put out going around and beating people to the sidelines and scoring long touchdowns. Dude's a baller, man. The dude can go. The issue that we're having here is when you have these super athletes in the secondary, especially, or even some of these super athletic linebackers, you got to be able to outrun them sometimes. I don't know that he's going to be able to cut off those huge, runs for like 50, 60-yard runs. He's going to give you a bunch of 25-yard runs, and he's going to be really good in short yardage. Again, this is this is another example of absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. He wasn't really asked to do a lot in the pass game at Iowa. It doesn't mean he can't do it. That's why I feel the combine is going to be huge for Caleb Johnson. If Caleb Johnson can show that he's a really nice pass catcher coming, I'm not talking about just dump offs and check down. I'm talking about actually running routes out of the backfield. If he shows the quickness to run routes and create separation against linebackers and safeties and the hands to be able to catch the ball and move up the field with it, I think it's going to really help him be a high day 2 pick. If not, you're probably going to be a middle day 2 pick, probably. I would say something like that. But yeah, I really like Caleb Johnson. I think that he's someone that we can target probably in the 3rd round with our first pick in the 3rd round. Cross your fingers. Maybe. We'll see. All right. Moving on to wide receivers. All right, we take a look here. The scouts over at Bleacher Report gave the best hands to T-Mac out of Arizona, best route runner, Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. You got the best speed is Arian Smith. Arian Smith is actually out of Georgia. He wasn't one of their main guys, but he was a big-time hitter as far as big plays go. Best slot receiver got Tez Johnson coming out of Oregon. And most pro ready is T-Mac. This is not anything like surprising. If you're surprised by this, I mean, what are you doing with yourself? T-Mac is like by far the best prospect, I believe, with just all the tools. Dude is tall. He can jump out of the freaking stadium. He's got huge hands, contested balls. The one little kind of picadillo they're going to give on T-Mac, and they're going to probably talk about a little bit more, is he doesn't really get a lot of separation. He hasn't played football all that long. He used to be a volleyball player, and he transitioned to football. So a lot of the nuances of like route running and stuff like that, he doesn't really have. Because he's not like a 6'6" receiver who can really get in and out of breaks. He's a legit 6'4" plus. He's probably going to measure between 6'4", 6'4 and a half. With that wingspan, with that jumping ability, I think is going to be okay. Now, if you want to take a look at a receiver and explain the grade, we got Matthew Golden. Now, Matthew Golden is the 3rd rated receiver. It may be a little bit weird because he's behind Trey Harris. Trey Harris had a nice year until he got hurt. How does that injury play into his grade, into his draft stock? Because look, you can rate Trey Harris all day long over like Golden, Egbuka, Burden, even the guy out of Stanford. You can rate him higher, but if you have an injury concern, that may drop him behind these guys. And there's a lot of good guys out here, man. Jalen Royals out of Utah State, man, that guy's a freaking stud. You got Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. That guy's a small guy, but he fights. Tez Johnson's a freaking blur, dude. There's a lot of good receivers in this class. And injury history may tip the scales. The reason why Matthew Golden was rated behind Trey Harris in the hierarchy at number 3, even though he's been a pretty big riser through this whole process, he just needs to be a little bit more consistent. That's the thing that I think a lot of these draft evaluators are going to look for. I mean, he's got it all. He's got nice size. He's going to test well. He's got a good, his combo, his size, speed, ball skills, route running ability. He's up there with all of them, right? I just think that sometimes he did disappear in some games that where you don't see players of that caliber that you're going to put up there, the 1 or 2 of the class. You don't see those guys disappear in games. Sometimes you saw Matthew Golden really not be even the best wide receiver on the field at times. I think he can change that with maybe a little bit more coaching, better coaching. This kid's already freaking just legit, right? Anyone who gets Matthew Golden in the draft is going to get a superb athlete, a superb football player. And he was coached up at Texas. One of the things that I really like about him is the fact that he catches the ball and he gets upfield. Think of like Brock Bowers, but like a lot faster. Brock Bowers catches the ball. He doesn't make any moves or nothing. He catches it and he's right upfield and he gets positive yards. That's what Matthew Golden does. Matthew Golden also has, really good route running ability. He can win outside. He can win in the slot. He can win over the middle. This dude can win anywhere. Anyone who gets this kid going to get a good player. I think that's one guy to look for the Raiders in maybe the first pick of the third, for their first pick that they have of the 3rd round. maybe even the second round pick, depending on what happens in the first round. He's going to be a baller, man, and he would really definitely fit a need for us to have another playmaker on the field on offense. All right, moving on to the tight ends. Tight end group, they didn't even do top 10, they just did top 9. But everyone on this top 9, they're ballers, dude. These guys are freaking dope. Let's take a look here. They have right now Colston Loveland, Michigan at 8.1, Tyler Warren, Penn State at 8.0, Elijah Arroyo, Miami at 7.8. Harold Fanning Jr. out of Bowling Green. This dude set all kinds of records. Keep an ear out for that guy, man. This guy can be a freaking riser. He's a pass catcher galore. Okay, let's take a look at why Tyler Warren isn't number one. So look, I get it. I understand he was like the focal point of the passing game for Penn State, and he caught everything that came to him and this and that. And yeah, he is really good. But if you're going to be a tight end, you got to be able to do a couple of things that Tyler Warren really hasn't shown that he's elite or very good at. He's good, but he can be a lot better. Number one is run blocking. If you're a tight end, no block, no rock. It's just the way it is. Even Brock Bowers said it after coming out of training camp. He needs to get a lot better at his blocking if he wants to be on the field more. Now, we don't use him too much as far as blocking goes, but we do use him. And he needs to be able to create space and create holes for wherever he's blocking. We use him at H-back a lot, sometimes even at fullback. That's the big issue with Tyler Warren. He's not a great blocker. And another thing that tight ends need to be able to do, they need to be able to get open versus man coverage. Not great at that either. Is it a physical traits thing? I don't think so. I think Tyler Warren is plenty fast and quick enough to be able to get open. I just think it's more of a scheme thing. Again, absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, okay? What they ran a lot at Penn State was a lot of seam routes and late leaks and stuff like that, a lot of zone beaters. Now, he's really good. Tyler Warren is really good at finding pockets in the zone, which he's really good at, okay? And he can definitely do that. What he needs to get better at is creating separation against man coverage. Think of how Brock Bowers got open against everybody, right? That's what Tyler Warren needs to get better at. He needs to get better. If he wants to be looked at as someone like that, he needs to be able to get open more against man coverage, and that's something that he struggles with a little bit at times when they put maybe someone who's a little bit quicker and who has like longer arms to be able to cover. That's what makes Brock Bowers so special. He can get open. He's bigger, too big for the safeties, or excuse me, he's too big for the corners. He's too fast for safeties and linebackers. He can get open against anybody. That's why he's so special. That's why I think Warren is not the number one tight end in this class. Loveland has shown that he can block a much better, and he has shown the ability to get open against man coverage. He uses his size a lot better. So that's what we got the tight ends. All right, moving right along, we're going to talk about the offensive tackles, the big uglies. I love me some offensive linemen. I think you should draft at least 2 offensive linemen every single year. Keep it fresh, keep it young, keep it moving. You're going to be able to tell pretty quickly if you got something going on with an offensive lineman. Look at DJ Glaze last year. We were like, dude, Delmar Glaze, who the hell is that? I was like, sneaky good pick. I was a little bit iffy last year about Delmar Glaze, DJ Glaze, and his lateral movement, but he sure shut me up. I think he played a really nice right tackle. I think he could be a right tackle for quite some time. And if we end up maybe picking up a tackle in this draft, he could definitely kick in the guard. Just saying. All right, let's take a look at how Bleacher Report and the guys out there rank these offensive tackles. All right, the best run blocker, they have Armand Membu. Armand Membu is a stud. He's out of Missouri and massive dude. Best pass blocker, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Best zone blocker, again, Armand Membu. Most pro ready, Ozzie Trapilo. Ozzie Trapilo is out of Boston College, and he was one of the reasons why they were able to win the games that they did. This guy's a stud. Most versatile, they have Josh Simmons again from Ohio State. You may think like, Kelvin Banks and Josh Connery took a hit with that Mike Green freaking video. But you also hear names like Cameron Williams and just a lot of guys out there. This is the reason why they have Membu ranked up at number one offensive tackle in this group. One of the big things with Membu is, dude, it's not even 21 yet. He's going to turn 21 in March. Kid is massive. The kid has the athletic ability to play like even guard, to play pulling guard. He has the quickness, the lateral movement, the power to play tackle and be good at it. I just think what the scouts just fell in love with was the fact that he's so young, he's so good already. He has massive size and his movement skills. He can play anywhere on the line and he can excel at everything. He does need to clean up a couple things footwork wise, but that's nothing new. A lot of linemen coming out of college need to clean up their footwork a little bit because in college they can just overpower everyone and they're just bigger and stronger. But here in the NFL, the game's a little bit different. The footwork does matter. His aiming points sometimes and run blocking, he just kind of like got by with brute strength. You're not going to be able to do that with these defenders, especially the linemen in the NFL. You have to have the right attack point to be able to move these guys out of the way. He cleans this stuff up. He's so young. He's so talented already, and he's just so athletic. That's why he's at number one. All right, moving on to the interior offensive linemen. Some names in the group that you might recognize. Now, I know that Will Campbell played tackle at LSU, but they have him at an interior offensive lineman. They have the best run blocker as Will Campbell, the best pass blocker as Will Campbell, the best zone blocker as Will Campbell, the most pro-ready Tyler Booker out of Alabama, the most versatile is Gray Zabel. Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State, I love this kid. This guy's got a nasty streak. He's huge. He's going to be a really good guard in the league. Tackle, maybe after a few years, he gets used to the speed of the game, maybe some of the power of these guys. I just think that he's better suited to be on the inside at guard. I think he'd be a Pro Bowl, all pro level guard. Just give him a little bit of time. He's got a mean streak, which you need to have on the inside, and he likes it, man. He likes getting down and dirty. What you're looking at when it comes to why Gray Zabel was ranked so high, you're coming from these FCS schools like North Dakota State, and they're a good program. Don't get me wrong. They put a lot of people in the NFL, but the competition week over week over week, he's not going against these guys that you would like in, the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, stuff like that. Like you're not going against these guys every single week. You got maybe one guy every other game. You go, this guy's got a prospect to go in the draft. You're not going against guys who are going to be playing on Sundays in a year or two. Not every single week like you would if you went to a Power 5 or Power 4 school. The reason why he's ranked number 3 interior offensive lineman, he had an excellent Senior Bowl. He did lose some reps, but it's just set up that way. A lot of one-on-one blocking drills. You're not going to beat everybody, especially when a lot of these guys are just so different. A lot of these pass rushers are just so different, man. They have different move sets, different skill sets, different abilities, different strengths and weaknesses. So you can be good at stopping one guy with one thing, but another guy does the same thing and just does it a little bit better, get you. But he held his own, even though he was a small school guy. He showed that he does belong there. One of the things, too, is Zabel, he played all up and down, all 5 positions on the offensive line. And during the Senior Bowl practice, he even took some snaps at center. That's going to bode well for him because he would be a massive center. Dude is 6'5", 315, 320. He'd be a really good size center, but he does have the mobility, the agility, the athletic ability to play any one of those positions on the line. That, more than anything, the fact that he's well coached, he showed out in the Senior Bowl, and he has such versatility, I think that'll really bode well for him. I would love to be able to pick him up in the second round if we could. It'd be a home run pick for me if we get this guy, pair him with Jackson Powers Johnson and maybe someone else. Right now, it's either Parham. I think maybe Andre James is probably going to be a cap cut. But, you get Parham, Johnson, and you get Zabel in there. You got 3 young guys who really know what they're doing. That'll be a really solid core for the interior offensive line. All right, that's it for the offense. Let's look at the defense. Defensive line. Best nose tackle, Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant is a freaking stud out of Michigan. Best pass rusher, Mason Graham, duh. Best run stopper, Mason Graham, double duh. This guy's legit, dude. Mason Graham is so freaking good. Most versatile, they have Walton Nolan. Well, I love Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. If Mason Graham wasn't so freaking just special as a football player overall, forget tackle, forget defense, forget offense, just a special football player, we were talking a lot more about Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan is a legit player too, and whoever ends up getting Walter Nolan is going to get an excellent football player. Let's explain the grade that we have for Alfred Collins out of Texas. Now, Alfred Collins, they have him here at number 6 at 7.4. There's a couple of things that he does really, really well, but there's also a couple of things that he needs to really work on. Now, at the point of attack, dude, he is strong as hell. He's a mean streak, right? He's almost like offensive lineman mean. You know how offensive linemen just love to hurt people, right? He's like that, but on the defensive side, he loves to get a nice hard punch in there, really show the offensive lineman that he's there. He's nasty. He's violent at the point of attack. He's hard to move. Definitely somebody that you want to have on the interior of your defensive line. These defensive linemen in this draft class, man, these guys are freaking legit. It's a deep draft class if you want defensive linemen. If you combine the interior defensive linemen with the edge rushers, there's a lot of players that you can get and really flip around the strength of your defensive line in just a couple of picks. Now, the issue with Alfred Collins and the reason why he's not ranked higher than he is at number 6, he's not that great of a pass rusher. And that's kind of where things are moving now. Like, he's going to be a great 2-down defensive lineman, a great 2-down D tackle, right? It's just, if you want to be put up in that elite level and that level of like top 1, 2, 3 guys coming out, you got to be able to have more pass rush moves and more pass rush wins, better pass rush win rate. That's what's really holding back Alfred Collins. If not for that, his stoutness at the point of attack would put him up there with anybody in the draft class. All righty, another top 5 position is the edge rushers. This is like a no-brainer. We all know the best edge rusher is going to be Abdul Carter, blah, blah, blah. But remember, I did the video on the big risers, right? The fast risers after the Senior Bowl. Mike Green is at number 2. Let's take a look. Best speed rusher, Abdul Carter. Best power rusher, Nick Scorton. Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Keep an ear out for that name. You're going to hear this guy's name a lot, not just after the draft, not just at the pre-draft, build up, but afterwards in the NFL. This dude's a freaking stud. Best run stopper, Mykel Williams. Mykel Williams took a little bit of a dip. He was seen as like the guy, right? And then had the emergence of Abdul Carter. You had Mike Green doing his thing with his measurables. Now, Mykel Williams has the measurables. It's just the consistency is not there all the time. And that's one thing that if you're going to split hairs between these guys, it's going to be that small. It's going to be that little sliver of, okay, well, this guy, gave extra effort on more plays than this other guy, so we're going to rank him higher. That's what happened with Mykel Williams. But don't get me wrong. Anyone who gets Mykel Williams is going to get an excellent football player. Most versatile, yeah, of course, Abdul Carter. Look, Abdul Carter is the cream of the crop when it comes to this class. There's a lot of good names here. I mean, James Pierce out of Tennessee is an excellent name. You got Shamar Stewart was a big riser. I mean, like Landon Jackson is a physical freak. Like you got Jared Ivey, another physical freak. There's a lot of ballers. I'm talking about ballers, right? But there's a lot of solid contributors. And these guys aren't like, I hate to say it because, I do like the kid, but like, they're not like a Tyree Wilson, right? Who comes in here and he's just a physical freak, doesn't have technique. These guys can all get it done. These guys are going to come in and be contributors. I think almost every single person on this list, and it's a long list, are going to come in to the NFL and they're going to contribute. Now, let's take a look at Abdul Carter and why is he so far above everyone else? Because you take a look, he's a 9.1. At number 2 is Mike Green, and he is at 8.1, a whole point difference. Let's take a look at why. All you have to do is put some tape on Abdul Carter, and you're going to see why. The dude is just explosive. He's not huge, but he's big enough, and he's definitely strong enough. He can convert that strength and speed into power. I've seen him bowl over all these different tackles, loops inside guards. You could chip him. You can put a tight end. You can put an extra lineman on his side. Doesn't matter. He's fast enough, strong enough to split double teams on the run. This dude is freaking special. I'm not going to say he's Micah Parsons 2.0, but he's Micah Parsons-esque. Now, when Micah Parsons came out, I was pounding the table. The Raiders should do everything they can to move up and get this guy. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it done. But Abdul Carter is a legit freak. I think if for whatever stroke of God Abdul Carter is still available at number 6, you jump, you run that card up there, and you get Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter, probably one of the better players in this entire draft. There's like Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter. Those are like the guys, okay? These are like the can't miss guys, like the day one freaking like pushing for Pro Bowls, pushing for all pros. You put Abdul Carter in the right system where you can let him roam and you can let him just come off the edge and just punish these offensive linemen with all his moves and speed and his power. You're going to have a guy that's going to be able to wreak havoc and be a true game wrecker. That's why Abdul Carter is where he is, and that's why he's so far above everyone else in the edge class. All right, that brings us now to the linebackers. Let's take a look at the linebackers they have here. Best blitzer, Jalen Walker out of Georgia. Best run stopper, Demetrius Knight Jr. out of South Carolina. Best in coverage, Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. I don't think it's even close. Jahad Campbell in coverage, like he's a legit cover guy. Most versatile is Jalen Walker, just because you can put him on the edge as well. He can be an edge rusher sometimes as well for you. All right. Jeffrey Besa. I like Jeffrey Besa. Jeffrey Basa. I'm not sure how to say it. I'm going to say Besa. When you're a linebacker and you want to be looked at as one of the best linebackers out there, you got to be able to do everything really well. If you don't do everything really well, what you do well, you have to be elite at it. And I'm going to stop short of saying that Jeffrey Besa is elite at any one thing, but he's like really good at just about everything at linebacker. He's quick, he's fast, he can cover. The issue that he has is a lot of these smaller linebackers in college, when they come to the NFL, they don't do so well shedding blocks. And I'm not just talking about the linemen either. I'm talking about like these H-backs, and if a team has a fullback, like these guys are just looking to punish these smaller linebackers. And you get a smaller linebacker latched on, like an interior offensive lineman or a tackle comes on a freaking scrape block or something and just takes them out. That's what really opens up holes in cutback lanes. He needs to get much better, Jeffrey Besa, that is, needs to get much better at taking on blocks and avoiding blocks and just wiggling his way through and getting himself in good position to make tackles. Now, he's a lot stronger than he is big, but if he adds a little bit of size and doesn't lose any of his speed, which is, cross your fingers, what every player wants to do, especially at linebacker, definitely going to be a guy that you're going to really maybe transition to in maybe a year or two once you get him into the right program and put some mass on him. But I think he's going to win with his eyes. If he can win with his eyes and he can beat linemen to the spot, he's going to have a really strong first couple of years where he can get a lot of tackles for loss and right at the line of scrimmage or maybe even a little gain. He's that quick and fast, and he's that sure of a tackler. He just needs to make sure he can add a little bit of size so he can, live in between the tackles. All righty, that brings us to corner. Deion said it like 10 years ago on NFL Network, and I never forgot it. He was asked, who's looking for corners? What team is looking for corners? And he said, everybody. Everybody's looking for corners. And it's true. I don't care how many corners you have. You can always use one more, especially a good one. And there's a lot of good ones actually here in this draft. Take a look at what they have going on here. They have, so Bleacher Report has the best in man coverage as Will Johnson. I agree with that. The best in zone coverage, Travis Hunter. I also agree with that. Best slot corner, Upland Stout. Now, Upland Stout is a guy that I didn't really have a lot of familiarity with. He's out of Western Kentucky. He's smaller. He's a smaller dude, okay? But he's super quick, super fast, and uber competitive, which is what you're looking for in a slot corner because, man, you got to cover a lot of field if you're a slot corner. Most versatile is Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron, I like him a lot out of Texas. Dude, these Texas guys they got coming out right now, when you think Texas, you think speed, you think athleticism, you think just explosiveness. That's Jahdae Barron. He has that like to spare, okay? Now, let's take a quick look at Upland Stout. I didn't really know Upland Stout, so I'm going to trust what they're saying about him. Now, you're going to take a look initially at his size. He's like 5'8" on a good day with a brick in his pocket, 180. He's a smaller corner. The issue that you're going to have with smaller corners is even if you put him in the slot, primarily in the slot, you can move a bigger receiver into a slot and still have a huge matchup problem. Now, there are smaller corners out there who have been doing really well. You saw we had a Meek Robertson for a couple of years. He went over to Detroit and he's doing really well over there. So as long as you're competitive and as long as you can really win with your mind and be a good recognition of routes and route combinations, you can do really well in the slot, even at 5'8", 180, 180, probably 175, closer to 175 than 180. But this kid's a baller, man. For everything I'm hearing, he was a first-team All-Conference USA. If you're that size, you're going to be a little bit grabby. It's just going to happen, okay? You have these guys who are like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", even sometimes. You're covering these guys. Maybe even like you're on the slot and you get a Brock Bowers motioned out in the slot. What the hell is a 5'8" corner going to do against Brock Bowers? Not much. So you got to be physical. The thing is he's not afraid to be physical, which is good. A lot of these corners need to be more physical than they are, and they're just so afraid of getting penalized. Now, I'm not saying to go out there and be a penalty machine, right? But you do want to be competitive, and that's one thing about this young man. He is competitive. Upton Stott out of Western Kentucky, a name that could rise. He may still be a day 3 prospect just because he's a little bit smaller, but his competitive nature and his measurables, I think, will be able to get him still drafted. All righty, we're winding up with the safeties here. Let's take a look at what they got here. Best in man coverage, Andrew Mukuba out of Texas. I like Andrew Mukuba. I have him rated a little bit higher than what they do, but whatever, man. These guys are the pros, right? Best in zone coverage, Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. Duh, that guy's a stud. Best run stopper, Nick Emanwari. Nick Emanwari, I like him. He's out of South Carolina. There's a couple of sleeper guys out of South Carolina. I'm more of a Malachi Moore, Sebastian Castro type guy. Most versatile is Malachi Starks. Malachi Starks, he's the class of this group. He's like, they have him here at 8.9. 8.9, 9.0. What's the freaking difference? You're a day 1 starter in the NFL. Malachi Starks is going to go into the NFL. He's going to show that he was a baller in college. He's going to be a baller in the pros. This was just a stud. Let's take a look at actually one of the guys I mentioned, Sebastian Castro. Now, Iowa sleepily, you think Iowa, you think tight ends, offensive linemen, right? Not so fast. The last couple of years, they've put out a bunch of really good skill position players on offense and on defense. Now, Caleb Johnson coming out this year, and you had a couple of guys like Cooper DeJean and a couple other guys out there who are playing corner, safety, slot guys. Look, Sebastian Castro is in that line. Just like Cooper DeJean, when he was in Iowa, he played the slot. When he graduated and he got selected to go to the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles, Sebastian Castro kind of took over that position. Now, technically, he was a safety, but he was the primary slot coverage man, slot corner. He can do it, and he's a short tackler. He's gritty. He's not super grabby. He can tackle you in the open field, no problem. He had a huge tackle against Jalen Milroe in the open field, and that's huge because Jalen Milroe, dude, he is like one of the scariest guys in the open field. If you have to tackle him one-on-one, Sebastian Castro put him on his ass. Look, if you're looking for a guy, come in here, hard-nosed, not make a lot of mistakes, know where he's supposed to be, doesn't have the ball hawk skills, right, that let's say an outside flashy corner would have. But the guy comes out there, he knows his assignment, and he can cover those tight ends. He can cover those bigger slot receivers or even the shiftier guys. He has the quickness to do that too. Sebastian Castro, I think, is a guy that's going to be able to move up in these rankings. Right now, they have Sebastian Castro at number 8 at a 7.1. I can definitely see him maybe cracking the top 5. It really depends on how well he measures. If he does measure out well, I think he's gonna raise up a little bit in this class. Ooh, that was a lot. All right, guys, thank you very much for your time. Let me know what you think about these rankings. You saw the rankings, you saw the scores, you saw the grading scales. Let me know what you guys think. Are there some sleeper guys that we talked about that you want the Raiders to pick up? Are there some guys that we didn't talk about that you want the Raiders to pick up? Give me a name, let me know why, and I'll take a look. Guys, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It's the absolute bare minimum you can do to help this channel out without doing nothing at all. We are over 700, closing in on 8. Let's get over that 1,000 mark, guys. I know we can do it. Look, I'm consistently getting like 2,500, 3,000 views on my videos, and I'm at 700 subs. Hit that subscribe button, man. It's completely free. You just hit it, and then when we get videos coming out, you'll be one of the first ones to know. Hit that notifications button as well. I appreciate you guys. I make this just for you guys. Appreciate your time. Until next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.